purposely invite the rock and roll element into our community?
Well, what's wrong with a little entertainment?
Entertainment is fine, but this... we have lots of big acts that come through here. Ice Capades, Tiny Toons, Kenny G.
Kenny G.
Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones, Dr. Bones.
Good evening, this is Dr. Bones Live, and today my guest is Xander, and he's at Xander Demos on Twitter. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Bones.
So, first off, man, I know this may sound a little weird. I'm sure you probably got this question a few times, but is Xander just like an alias, like a stage name, or is that actually your name?
No, that's my name.
Okay.
My full name's Alexander, so instead of just going by Al or Alex, I just go by Xander.
Fair enough, right on. I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask anyways. I didn't want to insult you either, right? So I figured out.
It's all good.
So, man, you have quite the bio. The first thing I wanted to get into was the album we had for Album of the Year in 2012. And, Best Album of the Year. And it was named by Hair Metal Mansion, which is really very cool. And it was your first solo CD release. Now, that being said, it's called Guitar Arcadia. Mm-hmm. Which is a great name for it. Now, have you always been doing the solo thing, or did you kind of jump around from band and kind of go back and forth a little bit?
Yeah, it's always been a combination of the two. The solo thing was kind of a new thing back in 2012. Even 2011, I kind of figured I wanted to do something like that and just kind of break out as a solo guitar player. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, obviously, just because of the fact that there is, resistance from some musicians to want to work with a person that is, a solo artist. They're like, well, you're a guitar player. If you were a singer, it'd be different. And you'd be surprised, like, how, what kind of resistance you end up with. But for the most part, there was a lot of, there was a lot of support on it too. So that's, I was just kind of surprised, every once in a while there was, just some people that were just like, you know what, I don't want to play in a band with that's named after a guy.
Right.
Like, all right, that's cool. I can respect that,
Well, right on. And obviously this was a big deal for you. Now, when you set out to do this solo album, did you have a specific idea in mind, meaning like as far as like arrangement and production, or did you kind of build up from songs you'd written in the past and kind of rework them for the album?
A little bit of both. I had, some of the songs that are on that CD, they go back. One of them goes back to the '80s. Metagalactic actually goes back to the '80s on that, in that album. I wrote it in 1988. After I graduated high school, even. I was sitting around noodling, and I played this thing. I said, this is kind of a catchy melody, and just developed it from there. And to be honest with you, it was the only instrumental I actually had, probably up until the mid '90s when I wrote my second instrumental. And after that, even though I was a big instrumental guitar fan, I started to say, think to myself, I like what I'm doing here because I'm, the feedback I'm getting of if I am getting out and playing some shows, people are like, hey, that's a cool, it's a cool, hook that you have in that song and
right.
Whatever, and just that kind of stuff. So it was really, I actually saw, I started to see some potential there. That's how it happened.
Well, nice. And you know what? I just before getting the next few things, I'm really curious about your influences, just because when I was listening to Under a Darkened Sky and that sort of thing. I mean, I can tell a little bit of Asian influence, but at the same time too is like I know a lot of my metal too, and honestly, when I was listening to that one in specific, it gave me hints of like early Megadeth, but I'm talking like Marty Friedman when he was playing.
Yeah. I would say Under Darkened Sky is going to have a tiny bit of Megadeth in it, a lot of Stratovarius. Like that kind of stuff, like the power metal, like the Sonata Arctica,
right.
kind of sound. The EP that I'm working on right now, man, I mean, it's just really, there's a couple tunes on there, and I'm working with a female vocalist, and the same vocalist that was doing Under Darkened Sky. We're collaborating on 3 tunes in total together.
Nice.
I'm sorry, no, 4 tunes in total, 2 covers and 2 originals. And one of them, they're actually doing a duet on. And when you hear this, I mean, it's unbelievably awesome. I mean, I was just, because, what the cool thing is, I don't have to, like, get out there and, take the spotlight from anybody. I don't like doing that.
Right.
And, but I'm releasing it under a solo moniker, so it's, it's going to be a Xander Demos release, and that's fine. But man, it just, like, hearing some of the stuff that these guys have already done, I can't wait for this stuff to be finished because, man, they're just killing it. They really are.
Very cool, man. And just like I said, I just like hearing the shredding and growing up. I mean, everybody goes through different phases of music, but the first metal album I owned was Megadeth's "Rust in Peace."
Okay.
And then I kind of went.
Album.
Pardon?
Great album.
Yeah, and then I kind of went backwards, Peace Cells and that sort of thing, and just like hearing that little bit of kind of Marty Friedman there, like I really enjoy that because that's one thing that kind of drew me into Megadeth right away was Marty Friedman's just crazy, insane style of playing. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing is, I mean, I appreciate people that like him. I like him. As far as an artist goes, but he was never one of my favorite players, in all honesty. I actually liked him more as a solo guitar player than I did in Megadeth. I mean, I thought he was phenomenal he was great in Megadeth, don't get me wrong. He was a great player. He was, part of the whole breakout of, where everybody woke up and said, holy crap, these guys that are coming off of Shrapnel Records are unbelievable. So, Paul Gilbert goes into Mr. Big, Jason Becker went into David Lee Roth.
Right.
Freeman went into Megadeth, and so on and so forth. And and Greg Howe, he played it pretty smart as well too. I mean, he was doing stuff with Enrique Iglesias, and he eventually was playing with NSYNC. I mean, so he was making the more the bigger money gig, which is you got to really applaud him for that. But that was during the time. That was like during the glory days, where these shredders were coming off doing these amazing albums. And me personally, I mean, I thought Jason Becker sounded, wonderful in both David Lee Roth and on his own. But Friedman's sound, his tone, his picking style, I could never get into it, And but I listened to his solo album, and I really, really do like it. I mean, I think it's great. So I actually like him better that way, just a personal choice.
No, well, that's it. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? So I'm not going to select you for it either. So, so as far as like I said, influences go, I know you probably have many. So I'm not necessarily put you on the spot, but if you had to name either 1 or 3, whichever's easier for you, like influences that kind of really kind of give you the drive to kind of go into the style that you're playing, that you started playing and are still playing now.
I would say that, one of them is going to be Sean Lane.
Okay.
Another one is going to be, I would have to say Eric Johnson is one of them as well. And keep in mind that I kind of had a rebirth in the 90s because I stopped playing guitar for a couple of years because I really hated the music that was coming out in the early 90s. And it was just, I mean, it just, at the time, to me, it had no energy, it had no soul. If you read Rolling Stone magazine, it'll tell you quite the opposite. They'll say, oh, the days of grunge is when music, got really melodic and soulful. And I'm like, what are you guys listening to? because I'm really not hearing that out of Alice in Chains. I mean, they were a cool band, but, the fact that they were like the poster boys for, what was cool back then really just kind of made me laugh. And I mean, no disrespect, to the fans of that band. It just, at the time, Dream Theater was the only thing that gave me any kind of sanctuary, because I like melodic rock, you know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of those bands weren't really making it anymore. But I would have to say, so you got Sean Lane, you have Eric Johnson. the other guy that kicked me right in the ass was Michael Romeo from Symphony X. And Symphony X was a relatively new band in the 90s. But what really did it for me was a solo that he did on the Working Man Rush tribute album that blew my doors off. And I from that moment forward, which was 1995 till about now, so 20 years, I've really kind of been, into the way he plays as far as a metal player. So if you think about, Sean Lane, a fusion guy, Eric
Right.
Johnson, a blues fusion guy, and Michael Romeo, more of a metal guy, those three guys right there are pretty much the ones that, that I have kind of molded my styles off of.
Nice, right on. Well, you know what? It's kind of funny to mention Alice in Chains because I know just a few seconds ago we were talking about trying to kind of stem off your own and being essentially just a guitarist and not really a singer.
Yeah.
Although Jerry Cantrell did write some songs and did sing on some of the songs, it's still the same sort of idea because when he spun off and did his 2 solo albums, admittedly, I do like Alice in Chains, but those solo albums really sucked. Like they were horrible. And it wasn't because I was expecting Alice in Chains. I was expecting more out of him because he just looked like a solid rocker. I just want to do music and play, but it did not show or stream through at all.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So I just want to step up because just kind of perfect timing that you mentioned them at the same time. So,
Yeah.
so the thing is too is I was looking about some bands you played in support of, and well, we just mentioned one of them was Symphony X, and the other band I'd seen, well, I know he's kind of a soul guy, but seen him a few times, was Buckethead.
Oh yeah.
Now,
He's
how cool
great.
was that? Like, because he's quite the entertainer.
He's definitely the entertainer. The unfortunate thing is, though, the bigger that these guys are, the less accessible they are to the clowns like myself who support them. And I'm not saying anything bad about him personally or his management or whatever, but it was really kind of a bummer I didn't get a chance to talk to him that night. You know what I mean? Like when we opened for them, we played to a sold out crowd, which I thought was great. I felt very blessed and very lucky to be on the gig. And to be able to, I brought 50 CDs with me, and I sold all 50 of them, and I thought
Nice.
that was great. The best part about it was when I was out selling tickets, to the remainder of the tickets that I had, these couple of these kids, they rolled out there about 18 and 19 years old, apparently gigantic Buckethead fans, and I said, hey, listen, I'm opening for them. They looked at me, and they're like, yeah, right, dude. I said, no, seriously, I'll sell you, I got 4 tickets left. You guys are here. Did you get tickets? And they said, no, we'll just get them at the door. They thought I was a clown. These guys managed to get their way up on stage, and then I come out and I just start. It was one of those nights where I'm playing with Buckethead, so I had practiced all day, and I was really what I was listening to. Like I'm kind of a guitar player that if I get in that mode, if I listen to Sean Lane, I'll sound a little bit like Sean Lane. I'll like use some of his licks. If I listen to some Neil Sean, I might slow it down and do some more stuff like him. But it was kind of funny. I was really on point that night, and these guys just sat there with their jaws dropped, like that guy wasn't lying to us. What the hell, And it was kind of a funny moment. And I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, well, you paid $35, and I was going to sell it to you for $20, so you're a dumbass.
How do you like me now? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you like me now? They ended up buying a CD off me, so I can't really say.
Oh, very cool, right?
Very cool.
So they kind of got the point. Because I saw Buckethead had to be 2000, I want to say 2000, 2001, and they'd opened up for Primus.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that was really cool. That's the first time I see him. Was like because I heard so much about him, right? So I was kind of really trying to dying to get a look because at the time, internet wasn't really too big, so trying to hear some of the songs was a little bit more difficult because they weren't essentially radio friendly.
Right.
And they didn't play them too much, so like when I got there, but I was blown away. At first, the orange shoot and the bucket of KFC in his head kind of made me chuckle. But once it started hammering away, it's like, okay, this is completely different than what I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
So,
Awesome.
sorry, back to you. I know I'm sidetracking a little bit here, but
No, it's all right.
just over the years since you've been playing and doing tons and tons of different stuff. What has been the most, I guess, exciting for you? What's really give you, let's say, an extra drive to say, you know what, I'm doing this and I'm gonna give it that much more because this is just making me happy and this is exactly what I want to do.
It's a great question. If you're talking about a specific milestone or event that happened, I kind of lump them all together. Every time that I've gotten out in front of a national audience and I've picked up a fan or two. that, I mean, I can't describe how